here. So it says in assign current user undefined local variable model. I mean, of course. I mean, this is a local variable scoped to the instantiate model method, and obviously I can't use that same here because it's another method, and methods don't share scope. It's just Ruby, and I could do this, but this is very, very ugly, and we don't do this anymore. We don't use instance variables. So because in this example it will work. Yeah, so assign current user, blah blah, everything works. So I can actually, we don't know if it works because I didn't inspect it. Yeah, so this works. I can share state with instance variables because the operation is an object. But we don't do this anymore in Trailblazer 2.0 because we have the options object. So I write to this object, which is basically just a hash. I say model equals model, and now I can say options and re-access the hash. I could just use the same key, and here's my beautiful model. Yeah, here we go. Here it is. So the way to share state between steps is by using the options object. There's one cool thing I'm going to show in a second. So the problem is that you not only share between steps, you also share with the outer world. So outside I can say result, model, and this will also work. Yeah? So the options hash, or the options object, context, helps to share state between steps and helps to expose data from the operation to the outer world. And that's the only way to share data with the outer world. That's really, really important to understand. Yeah? And that's a big difference to, let's say, models and controllers work, because sometimes people write stuff to instance variables to share stuff into views and this kind of stuff in Rails. It's horrible, it's untraceable. In Trailblazer, the only way is the options object. Any problems running this kind of code?
It's shown at the bottom what to edit. Result model.
So the result object is basically the options hash. Almost. It's decorated. And one amazing feature, that's my second favorite feature of Ruby. What was my first? P. Was it P? Whoa. Fail. No, which one? .com, that one, exactly. So another cool feature in Trailblazer that we use from Ruby, because like in Ruby Gate has that feature, is we use keyword arguments. So I can say, instead of saying, so here's an instantiate model, I set this key, and I need this key in this method, or this step. I can now say model, and this is a keyword argument in Ruby, so this is all Ruby 2.0. And then I have a local variable called model, which is exactly the same. So I don't need to access options, I can just use a keyword argument. This is something else we can talk about for 20 hours if you want. Are you ready?
No, so
Namespacing, keyword arguments, you name it. So if I run this, syntax error, because in Ruby 2.0 it has to be like this. And if you have not used the double split, hash split operator, you're doing it wrong. So this is Ruby, this is not Trailblazer. We just use that feature in a convenient way. So everything that gets assigned to the options hash can be accessed as a keyword argument in following steps. And this alone is cool. Yeah? You look like you are having problems.
Already.
So this is cool because it saves me options and then brackets model. But let's say I call this model. Now Ruby will tell me, hey, oh sorry,
Ruby's talking too much.
where are we? Was that the problem? That's fine. Here we go. So Ruby now tells me missing keyword model. Again, this is Ruby, not Trailblazer. So I'm just using Ruby features in a way that makes sense. Because this hash key cannot be found in options. So I either have an error or I have to say model and then model and then it should work again. Here we go. So that's another thing that's pretty cool about keyword arguments is that we basically get an interface for free. Yeah? If I need the model, I put the model as a required keyword argument. I mean, I can talk about keyword arguments now for hours, but we decided not to. I put that as a keyword argument as a required in my signature. Every Ruby developer looking at this step will see, all right, he needs or she needs the model. If you forget to add the model in the step before that, or if you rename it, Ruby will tell you, hey, something is wrong, model is not here. And you find the error in 10 seconds. Whereas in normal Ruby, or in Rails, you will have nil doesn't have method, blah, blah, blah. And then you include, why is model nil? Oh shit, it's nil, why? And then, oh yeah, you find out, okay, somewhere up in my stack, I actually renamed the local variable model to something else. It's a nightmare. So you get convenient access and interface in your signature for free. Pretty cool feature. Okay, so use options to share stuff, share data, share information with other steps and with the outer world. Okay, so now I could say redirect result model.id. The exact same API outside as inside. Okay? You don't like it? You don't understand it?
Is it Rails method?
Yeah, it doesn't work. It will break. I was just trying to make an example how the operation can be used in, for example, Rails and Sinatra without any help or something. You just run the operation and then you interpret the result object, and based on your interpretation, for example, if it was successful, you want to redirect, and to redirect you need the model, and the model you grab from the result object again. So the only way to talk to the outer world is via the result object. Yeah? It's a really, really important feature in Trailblazer. You have to give the operation everything you think it needs, and it will give you everything it thinks you need via the result object. And the amazing thing about what I love about operations is that when I used to write Rails, I mean, I never really wrote Rails way applications because I think the Rails way is completely wrong. Everything Rails is basically doing it the way you shouldn't do it. So if you write tests in Rails, I mean, this fact is reflected in the way we write tests in Rails. Yeah? You write model tests, library tests, view tests, controller tests, integration tests. Then sometimes you have your service object that you kind of test somehow. So I implement a new feature in Rails. Yeah? Creating a comment. Where do I test this? Controller test? Okay. Integration test? Okay.
Basically everywhere. And models, controllers.
Why do I test some stuff of the model? Why do I test some stuff of the controller? So with the Trailblazer architecture, you always test the operation, because the operation embraces everything you need to create a comment. And a unit test in Trailblazer literally looks like this. Yeah? So I can say body nil. Let's say body was an attribute of the comment active record model or something like that. So I pass in something invalid, and I say expect result. Actually, I mean, I don't use aspect, but some people do, to be failure. This is a cool feature of aspect. Who knows what it does? It calls failure question mark on result, and then this has to be true. So basically, in a framework that has some sanity left, you could say success must equal false. Same. I'm actually sorry. So this could be a really simple unit test. Yeah? Let's put this in it. So it gives some context. I think this is going to break off right now, and then you can do stuff like so if you use additional features of Trailblazer, you also have an errors object, and you have validations, and the validations write to the errors object. This is all stuff you can read at home, or you can hire me or one of my consultants for additional actions. And you know it must equal blah blah blah. So you can test validation errors and everything, side effects through running the operation and testing the result object. So there's no more guessing. Do I test models, or do I test the controller, or do I test this part of the controller, and do I test this part in a model test? You always write operation tests. Okay? That was pretty cool with your bubble gum. In my class, no student is.
You could understand features.
How long is this workshop supposed to be? I'm just to ask you. So what time is it? 9:15, right?
Yeah.
Because my okay, that's great. Well, we can have another digestion break or something. So, but I mean, you get the idea of this whole thing, right? I mean, it's actually nothing really special. I mean, come on, this is special. but having this object or this class that you call and you pass in all the information you need. Oh, sorry, something I didn't explain is when you pass stuff into the operation. Yeah, for example, current user, let's say hello. Then you can access that the very same way. As you can see, I have my own Sublime setup. Current user. So again, like everything I pass into the operation and I call it. Very messy. Yeah, everything I pass into the operation is available in the options hash again. Yeah, so I can say options current user, and that will give me the current user from the outside. Hello. Or again, I can say give me a keyword argument because it looks cool. And then I don't need the options chisel, and I also have automatic access control. Did this user give me the current user? Hello, here we go. Yeah, so I can also pass stuff into the operation from the outside. So that's how you pass in dependencies you need in the operation. And it all works via the options hash and keyword arguments. And I mean, you might be confused by the way the I don't know, maybe you find this DSL confusing, or you don't understand how OpenStruct works that I'm using here, or you find the keyword arguments weird because you don't know how they work. But this is all, like technical stuff I can basically explain it to you in a one-on-one session or something, or someone else on GitHub or on Slack can explain you in 5 minutes, These are technical details, but the generic idea is really put your stuff into this class, let the class handle the flow control, you pass in what you think the class needs, and the class will give you what it thinks you need. And if anything is not there, you will know, okay, this information is missing, and then you look into the operation, why is it not here? Or you use tracing and debugging and all this kind of stuff. But that's pretty much the pivotal idea of Trailblazer is this operation that is callable and returns a result object.
You have 2 parameters in .call method, right?
Yeah. No,
What is the first one?
The first one was a mistake. So that was wrong when I designed Trailblazer, and I hate myself for that. So the idea in Trailblazer was, in the beginning, make it as simple as possible to call an operation and pass in the parameters, the literal params in a Rails controller. Yeah. So my idea was, I sat there and thought this is great to just do this. Yeah. So this is the params hash in a Rails controller. And then I thought, okay, if you need the current user, you do a merge and say current user blah blah blah. So you always give the operation one hash or whatever it is. And then there were 2 problems. The first problem was that I don't want to recreate this hash all the time when I add information. And the second problem was that in Rails 5, they removed, I think they only removed merge bang or something from they introduced a params object, and the params object didn't allow to merge anymore. And I mean, that was actually a good thing in Rails, that they did that. Yeah? Rails also has its good part. So, but the problem was this API, this API was already established. Yeah? There's a book describing this API. There's hundreds of applications in production using this API. So I had to come up with an API that is backward compatible. I hate backward compatibility. I really hate it. But what I did is, the first argument is always the params. It doesn't have to be the param from the controller, but some hash that is like the param. And after that, you can add runtime dependencies. Yeah. So, for example, current user blah. I said blah, not blah. Yeah. So what I should have done in the beginning is this API. Yeah. Param, current user blah blah blah. Something else. Stripe API object. But I was young and unexperienced, and you now you actually have this API in 2.1, but you have to say call __. I mean, this is not supposed to be used in public, but basically you get this API with this newly introduced method, which of course looks horrible. This is the reason we have this really hard to understand 2 argument
They are equal, and they are merged into options, right?
Exactly. So this hash, I mean this is a hash in the end, merges. Why am I talking? I can just show you the code. Now look, I have everything here. Public call, here we go. So the second, so here, this is the call method we just saw. There you can find the public _call in the operation gem. Here, params, options, and then you can also have additional containers. So this is how we support something like a dry container, for example. So what happens is params is merged into the options hash. totally unnecessary because we could have done this in the first place, but yeah. And now it's really hard. This is a problem in Ruby. If we had something like method overloading, where you can have different versions of the same named method with different arguments, languages like PHP, Elixir, Java, they all provide this feature. In Ruby, we don't have it. Then I could have two implementations of call doing two different things. But we don't have the features, so I have to like mess around with it. One of the many features I'm angry with Ruby. Yeah, okay. And as you can see in 2.1, everything is fully documented. It's amazing. Like, I mean, like, this should be returned. And so on. Okay. This is basically the generic features you should be aware of. I already hinted that in 2.1 the DSL is a little bit more open, so you can do stuff like rewiring the standard flows. Yeah, just making an example. So in this context, I could do stuff like how does it work here? If I want to connect the sign back to instantiate model, I could say, I have to say which signal, so whatever. This API is not finished yet. So if I would return whatever from assign current user, then it would jump to instantiate model. Yeah, this is how you can rewire non-standard stuff like. It's just one example how the DSL was extended. The cool thing is all the code from 2.1 all runs in 2.1, but it's like BPMN driven basically.
Are you using go to?
What?
Are you using go to statement?
Do we have that in Ruby?
No.
Because in PHP it was introduced recently, which is the only feature I don't like in PHP because PHP has evolved, whereas Ruby is still in the Stone Age. Don't get me started.
Nick, in this line where you wrote whatever our instantiate model, yeah, could we write some another case? Maybe
A different case?
like pattern matching when one result, this thing when another result, another.
You mean just edit here, or what do you mean, like pattern matching?
Yeah. Whatever, it's the key, right?
No, it's not a key, it's just what is returned from the. Like, we call this the signal. Yeah? So, so the signal basically is. I actually thought about this too, what you just said. So I would have to say whatever here. Yeah, I could also say, I don't know, a class.new and derive it from Trailblazer signal or whatever. Like the object you return decides about what is going to happen. Yeah, true means stay on this track, nil means go on to the other track, and everything else means that you have to wire that. But I also thought about pattern matching because that's what you mean, right? To have
Whatever one, whatever two.
whatever happens on
Go one, go two.
like more complex deciders basically. If the result object of options has key model and has key current user, then go to this. If it has those keys and the key currency, go to something completely different, like a more complex decider. Yeah, well, I thought about this too. I think it is basically just. I mean, you have to write the pattern at some point. You could use dry matcher. And then it is basically just a wrapper around the original step, which is just a Ruby method, that kind of evaluates all the cases and then emits a signal. And the signal can be like we do the signal internally, and then it's basically just a matter of having a nice API for this new feature you're just proposing. But I thought about this as well because it would be really cool. It would also be really good for polymorphic stuff. If you have different, like if you need a dynamic circuit basically. But this is all stuff I don't have time to work on because I need to give workshops and this kind of stuff. Send merchandising to people. One cool thing that we did not discuss is, so in the BPMN standard, I mean, this kind of stuff is pretty obvious, but BPMN also has a feature of, it's called sub-process, yeah? For example, let's say the validate step is super complex and needs 100,000, like the validate step is basically so complex in its implementation that you want to use a separate operation because operations are not limited to controller actions. You can have one operation being composed of 500 operations, no problem. It's still faster than normal Ruby, trust me. So in BPMN, so in Ruby, this would be basically validate could be an operation itself, and in BPMN they have the same concept. It's called sub-process, and now we have the same problem we had earlier. That my screen is too small. So in BPMN, a sub-process is drawn like this. Yeah, it has a plus, and that means actually it looks really shitty. Oh no, I broke it. So a plus in one of those boxes means I am an activity myself. So basically, this box, if you zoom into that box, will be another circuit itself, yeah? And you can connect its ends to other ends and all this kind of stuff. It's way too much content to discuss here right now. But in Trailblazer, we have, funny enough, we have the same concept code-wise. So if we go back to this beautiful operation, yeah, we have instantiate model, assign current user, and validate. And actually, you can try and code this. What am I doing? Params. Oh yeah, sorry. It always gets really messy. What's the end with all that pseudo code and prototyping? Where did I use params?
Stop, bottom, a little bit down.
I have an idea.
Yes. Wow.
Let's make it a string. Okay, so we go into instantiate, we go into assign user, and then we validate. So first of all, maybe one thing I should explain is a step doesn't have to be an instance method. Yeah? This is only the simplest example. A step can also be any kind of callable object. Yeah? For example, I can say step validate. Of course, I need to define the constant validate. I would say class validate. All this class needs is a call method. And the call method has the exact same API as those guys. Yeah? So instead of having an instance method, I just add this reference. And this can be any kind of object. I'll show you another example in a second. As long as it has a call method. And the call method has the exact same API as an instance method. So if I run this code, we will get an exception saying, hooray, I was called, hopefully. Of course. Call assign users, no method error. Okay, we are in 2.0. 2.0, there's a little stupid requirement. You have to mark this class as callable. In 2.1, you Don't need this. Hooray, I was caught. So you see, I'm not limited to pushing everything into the operation. You can share generic steps, and that's what lots of people do in massive, big Trailblazer-driven applications. They use callable objects or classes to share code. Yeah? So this class doesn't have to sit in comment create. This class can be completely somewhere else. This can also be namespace and all this kind of stuff. And so another thing that lots of people ask me is so the thing with callable objects is they don't need to be classes or something. Like you can have any kind of let's say for example you can use a lambda, like I say my validate, because lots of people ask like am I limited to instance methods because my operations get really big and I have the same code everywhere. Like, no, you can use classes, you can use lambdas. This is I had this amazing thing. This is good, yeah. And again, you have the same API options. What the hell? No, like this. So the step can be my validate, run this. Great. Yo, Trailblazer skill. So this is the lambda being. So a lambda in Ruby. Who knows what a lambda is? Lambda is a proc. You know it? Proc.
I know who knows.
Saved. Like block.
It's a proc, and a proc is always a callable object. Yeah. So so basically, you can use any kind of callable thing as a step. And then people ask me, but if I mean, all this code now sits in the operation, isn't that a God object? Like now, all my business code is jammed into that operation. And this is always I wonder like. Where do people learn object-oriented or software design in general? Because, like, just because I have this my validate, for example, doesn't mean that all the validation code has to sit in that my validate lambda. In that lambda, you can call another object or another operation and this kind of stuff. Actually, Trailblazer comes with a built-in mechanism to nest operation. And that, so let's say I had another operation. Just quickly drawing this validate operation. Yeah. I had step blah blah blah, step blah blah, whatever. I can use this operation using the. Actually, this is not going to work because I'm not using the Trailblazer gem, but just to show you how this stuff would work. You can nest operations into operations using the nested macro, we call it. And now Trailblazer will know, okay, this step is another operation. And that is also helpful, for example, for tracing, because now the tracing, when you trace what happens in the operation, will zoom into the other operation. It's amazing. And also, okay, if you use nested for another operation, this will be automatically presented as a sub-process because it's something you can zoom in. And lots of people in lots of projects with big teams use composed operations to share lots of generic code. Because you always have huge chunks of code you want to use in every operation. This is why you have the nesting feature. Yeah, so keep in mind there is lots of code you need to implement something like creating a comment, but you don't have to push it all into one class. You can use as many objects and classes and functions and lambdas as you want.
I have a question.
Okay,
What about the struct model?
you have 22 minutes left to ask the question.
21. The struct model is deprecated. Please use property struct. What about this arrow?
The struct, what is deprecated?
Struct model. It's not in this case.
What
I'm
is
using-
struct model?
I don't know.
You mean this? Open struct?
This is the struct you are using, and I'm making some tasks in Trailblazer, and I'm using Trailblazer operation, Trailblazer cells, and I'm trying to imitate the theorem usage for sign in, sign up, and they tell me the struct mode is deprecated. Please use property struct. What's this?
Oh, that's something completely different. That's that is hash fields in reform.
Okay, and how
And,
to fix it?
I think the problem is in Tyrant, in the Tyrant gem, because we haven't updated Tyrant to. The solution is to use the Tyrant branch 2.1. I'm not working on Tyrant, that's someone else. So, welcome to open source, you can just say it.
Is it really a thing around?
Not yet, because we haven't put any real work. So Tyrant is our replacement for something like device. Yeah. So when you think of
So actually, you recommend to use with US version of Trailblazer. You recommend device, not run.
no, of course not. I mean, the only problem with Tyrant is that we again should invest 4 weeks to fucking work it out, and then it'll be much better than device. Because if you think of login and forgot email and resend password and all this kind of stuff, again you can draw beautiful diagrams to visualize the workflows. But if you think of, and this is a topic for a separate talk, but if you think of something like device, forgot password, delete user, register user, and make it and send user confirmation link. Wait for the confirmation link to be clicked. When the confirmation link is clicked, sign that user up properly. All this kind of stuff. All this kind of stuff could be modeled as different operations. Yeah, we agree. Like, because in device, a device is one of the worst gems I have seen in my whole life. The authors of device didn't understand that it is really important to have a good internal API that is probably reusable to other people. So something like make a user to be confirmed with the device API is basically impossible. So what we did in Tyrant is kind of providing the same functionality. What we did is we thought about, okay, what are public actions we want? Sign up user, make it to be confirmed, resend password, request password, change password, all this kind of stuff. So all these public actions are operations in Tyrant. Tyrant is a gem, generically usable in Sinatra, in Rails, that exposes all the public API via its operations. And the gem could be the showcase, the golden showcase for Trailblazer, how cool Trailblazer is. Because the gem itself is really simple to use, it's highly customizable, because all you do is you override the specific operation you want to change. For example, I want to change the way my passwords are generated, and you override the generate password operation, something like that. So this gem could be the kick-ass showcase how to use Trailblazer, how to use Trailblazer for gems, not only for applications. But we have an interesting concept in this universe called time.
Yeah, it's never enough.
Exactly, and so Tyrant is still, the idea is great. We have a couple of example actions like, what do we have? Sign up user, forgot password.
Sign in, sign out.
sign in, sign out, that's probably it. There could be 50 more, but we don't have them. Yeah. And maybe next year there will be a workshop on Tyrant by you.
Okay.
Yeah, the Tyrant Jam is one of, like, every time I think of it, it hurts. Because there's a lot of good ideas and okay code sitting and waiting to be completed. Because people ask me, what am I supposed to use instead of device? Because I hate device. I mean, apparently device is really hard to use. I never used it. And I always say use Tyrant, and then they come 2 minutes later, they come and say, hey, but how do I do, I don't know, the device has so many features, like encrypt password and this kind of stuff. And I always have to tell them, you have to implement it yourself at the moment, and that sucks. So maybe next time we should make a workshop, a hackathon. And every person has to implement one action. That would be fucking cool. Because that would be finally something I have benefited from.
It's
Okay.
open source.
Huh?
Open source.
Yeah, it is. I think we covered all the great parts. The editor will be up and running. It is already up and running. Do we already have new users subscribed?
Yeah.
Really? Because there's one problem. You might have to sign up again soon because we are switching the databases from the Trailblazer Pro database and the editor database. When you sign up, they need to get merged using Tyrant, by the way. And I don't want to write migrations both ways, only one way, which means all the Trailblazer Pro subscribers, because they pay money, will be in this database. That would mean you would still exist, but I might end up with an intermediate database and then you're lost. So if you sign up and it doesn't work, yeah. By the way, we also need lots of help with the editor and the API. It's also a great project. Help, Nick. Any more questions or? Tomorrow I'm going to show some more examples how applications can be composed with the editor and BPMN. Because today we only focus on operations and also composing entire applications with the editor doesn't work yet. I mean, it works, but not really nicely. Not as nice as the rendering. So, what do you use? What do you use instead of Trailblazer in your applications, in your Rails applications? I'm guessing no one is using. I mean, I'm guessing that everyone in this room has experienced the bottlenecks you experience with the Rails way, where you put everything into callbacks and model and this kind of stuff. Because I've seen lots of people using their own kind of like Trailblazer implementation, not Trailblazer, but like they have special service objects and they have their own form objects and this kind of stuff. Presenters, but that's for the view, okay?
Decorators, interactors.
Yeah. So interactor is a similar idea as operation. Do you use active interactor, the gem? It's actually pretty cool. Do you know it? Active interactor. It's, it has been around for many years. Actually, it's older than active direction. Active interaction. Interaction. But this has changed. It used to be by some other company. And also it used to have way more stars. What happened? Is it?
Maybe just simple interactive.
Was it? No, but I think. Okay, but they. See, they have the same run outcome. Got it. Looks really similar, right? Yeah, so they have validations sitting in the interaction itself, whereas Trailblazer has uses a completely separate gem for that. So this is nicer to write, but I'm pretty sure they are very, very limited. But it's very similar to what we do. I don't know what the filters do. It looks great. I don't know what the array does. It looks great. It looks like they're mixing a lot of things into one abstraction, which is problematic in my opinion, and very, very typical for the Rails generation, where one object does everything in one implementation. But interface, very good.